the puzzle of human attraction becomes infinitely more complex when a man actively attempts to hide his feelings, whether driven by a fear of rejection, a commitment to professional boundaries, or a simple desire to protect his ego. A man hiding his interest will often erect an elaborate facade of casual indifference. To the untrained eye, his cool demeanor, slow responses, or playful sarcasm can easily be misread as total lack of interest. However, while the conscious mind is highly capable of manufacturing a detached exterior, the human body and subconscious brain are notoriously bad at keeping secrets. Underneath the carefully curated mask of nonchalance lies a complex network of involuntary, biological and psychological responses that consistently betray his true emotional state. To decode a man's hidden attraction, one must learn to look past his spoken words and instead analyze the subtle, microscopic shifts in his behavior. When a man is romantically drawn to you, his nervous system undergoes a predictable surge of adrenaline, cortisol, and dopamine whenever you enter his immediate environment. This internal chemical cascade triggers a series of automated, primitive survival and mating reflexes that he cannot consciously control. These signs manifest across various channels: the involuntary orientation of his physical framework, the acoustic modulation of his vocal cords, the hyper-retention of trivial data, and the protective territorial instincts that surface when competitors are near. He is caught in a perpetual psychological tug-of-war, balancing a powerful evolutionary drive to bond with you against a defensive urge to pull back and maintain his emotional armor. Understanding these hidden behavioral patterns transforms how you interpret mixed signals. Instead of viewing a sudden withdrawal or a piece of playful teasing as a sign of dismissal, you begin to recognize them as classic coping mechanisms of a man who is deeply intimidated by the depth of his own feelings. Behavioral psychology reveals that the more a man tries to suppress his attraction, the more violently it leaks out through his micro-expressions and body language. He might master his facial expressions, but he will forget to monitor the direction of his feet. He might force himself to look away when your eyes meet, but his peripheral vision will remain locked onto your coordinates. By learning to identify and synthesize these 15 distinct behavioral indicators, you gain the ability to read between the lines of his calculated distance and confidently uncover the genuine attraction he is desperately trying to conceal. The direction of his physical focus. Even when a man actively tries to mask his romantic interest, his autonomic nervous system frequently betrays his internal state through unconscious physical alignment. Human biology dictates that we naturally orient our physical framework toward the psychological focal point of our attention. If a man harbors hidden feelings, you will notice that his shoulders, chest, and torso consistently square up in your direction during interactions, creating an open gateway for engagement. Even when he is seemingly engaged with someone else or pretending to ignore you across a room, his upper body will pivot toward your position. This involuntary structural framing occurs because his subconscious mind prioritizes your presence above all other environmental stimuli. By monitoring these subtle structural shifts, rather than focusing strictly on his guarded facial expressions or distant behavior, you can easily decode his genuine underlying attraction. Microfixes and subconscious grooming. The moment a person of interest enters the immediate environment, the human brain triggers an automated surge of adrenaline and cortisol, resulting in sudden self-consciousness. When a man secretly likes you, this biological spike manifests as rapid, repetitive micro-grooming behaviors designed to optimize his appearance. You will observe him automatically smoothing down his shirt, adjusting his collar, running his hands through his hair, or checking his watch the second you walk into the room. These fleeting adjustments are entirely involuntary. His primitive brain is attempting to present the most attractive, capable version of himself to a potential mate. He might simultaneously fix his posture, pulling his shoulders back and expanding his chest to project strength and confidence. Because these rapid physical adjustments occur beneath his conscious awareness, they serve as an incredibly reliable indicator of high romantic interest. Intentional non-physical proximity. A man who is attempting to hide his attraction will rarely make an overt, aggressive move, but his underlying desire for connection will drive him to manipulate physical space. You will consistently find him occupying the same micro-environments as you, positioned just close enough to allow for a spontaneous interaction without revealing his intent. If you are standing at a crowded social gathering, he will gradually drift into your immediate radius, choosing to stand nearby rather than across the room. He might frequent the same shared spaces, sit at adjacent tables, or position himself along your natural walking path. This deliberate closing of physical distance provides his subconscious mind with the comfort of proximity while maintaining a plausible layer of deniability. He is essentially placing himself in your orbit, waiting for chance occurrences to bridge the gap he is too hesitant to cross. Fluctuations in vocal pitch and tone. A man's vocal acoustics undergo distinct biological modifications when he speaks to someone he finds highly attractive, regardless of how cool or detached he attempts to behave. Behavioral research indicates that a man's voice will naturally drop to a lower, deeper resonance during direct communication with a romantic interest. This involuntary vocal deepening is an evolutionary mechanism designed to project masculinity, authority, and genetic fitness. Conversely, if he is feeling highly anxious about his hidden feelings being exposed, you might catch sudden, nervous upward inflections or a softer, more gentle tone than he typically uses with his male peers. These distinct acoustic shifts represent a subconscious desire to establish intimacy and comfort. By carefully contrasting the specific cadence, warmth, and depth of his voice when addressing you versus how he communicates with others, his underlying attraction becomes obvious. The look-away, eye contact pattern. Visual tracking is one of the most powerful diagnostic indicators of hidden attraction, particularly when a man is actively working to conceal his feelings. His eyes will naturally gravitate toward you because his brain finds your presence highly rewarding, leading to frequent, intense glances from across the room. However, the moment your eyes meet his defense mechanisms will immediately kick in, causing him to abruptly snap his gaze away or look down at the floor. This rapid, jerky disconnection of eye contact is driven by a sudden fear of vulnerability and rejection. He is terrified that a prolonged stare will expose his true emotional state. This specific visual dynamic is vastly different from casual indifference, where a person's gaze drifts away slowly and naturally. The sheer speed and frantic energy of his look-away reflex confirm that he was actively monitoring you. Selective information retention. When a man has hidden feelings for you, his brain treats every detail you share as high-priority data, even if he acts casual, indifferent, or distracted during your conversations. His subconscious mind is working overtime to store the information. Weeks or even months later, he will effortlessly recall minor details, such as your favorite childhood pet, a specific coffee preference, or a passing comment about a stressful project. This hyper-retention occurs because attraction triggers a surge of dopamine, which significantly enhances memory consolidation. While a casual acquaintance will let these trivial details slip away, a man who likes you is building a mental archive. He might later bring up these details seamlessly or use them to surprise you with a thoughtful gesture. This stark contrast between his laid-back demeanor and his flawless memory is a dead giveaway that he cares far more than he admits. Peripheral vision tracking in group settings. In a crowded room or a busy group dynamic, a man trying to hide his feelings will rarely stare at you directly, but his peripheral vision will remain locked onto your coordinates. Human beings naturally track the most valuable stimulus in their environment, and to him, that stimulus is you. You will notice that whenever someone tells a joke or a funny moment occurs, his immediate instinctive reaction is to glance at you to see if you are laughing. This split-second look is a subconscious bid for shared validation. He wants to synchronize his emotional experience with yours. Even when he is engaged in a completely separate conversation across the room, his body language will subtly adjust whenever you move or speak. He is maintaining a constant, low-level awareness of your state, ensuring he remains connected to you without drawing attention from the rest of the group. Defensive physical posturing around competitors. Even the most reserved man will experience an evolutionary urge to guard his romantic interests when another male enters the picture. If another man approaches you, sits near you, or begins flirting with you, the behavior of the man who secretly likes you will shift instantly. You will observe him adopting a more dominant, territorial posture. He may instinctively cross his arms, puff out his chest, or stand slightly taller to maximize his physical presence. He might also step physically between you and the other person, or interject into the conversation with a competitive edge. This behavior is driven by a subconscious spike in testosterone and a primitive drive to protect a potential mate. Even if he was acting cold or distant toward you just moments before, his sudden, intense hyper-awareness of other men exposes his underlying emotional investment, High responsiveness to micro-favors. A powerful psychological indicator of hidden attraction is how a man responds to very small, low-stakes requests for assistance. When a man is trying to play it cool, he will avoid making massive, grand romantic gestures that might expose his feelings. However, if you ask him for a micro-favor, such as holding your drink, helping you open a tight jar, or checking a quick detail on his phone, his response will be immediate, enthusiastic, and highly compliant. His subconscious brain leaps at any socially acceptable opportunity to serve, protect, and bond with you without breaking his indifferent cover. He will often over-deliver on these small tasks, investing more time and effort than the request actually required. This high level of cooperation proves that he is highly eager to please you and craves your positive reinforcement. Hyper-awareness of shared emotional states. When a man is emotionally invested in you, his level of empathy regarding your mood becomes incredibly sharp. Because he is constantly observing you, he will be the first to notice when your energy shifts, even by a fraction. If you are feeling slightly anxious, tired, or uncomfortable in a social situation, he will pick up on it long before anyone else does. He might quietly offer you his jacket, ask if you want to leave, or shift the group conversation away from a topic that seems to bother you. This hyper-awareness is difficult to fake. It requires a deep, continuous expenditure of mental energy that people only dedicate to those they deeply care about. Even if he maintains a stoic or detached facial expression, his swift, protective actions to secure your comfort prove that your emotional well-being is his top priority. Inconsistent, hot and cold engagement cycles. When a man is fighting intense internal feelings for you, his external behavior will often become highly erratic and unpredictable. This hot and cold dynamic occurs because he is caught in a psychological tug-of-war between his natural desire to be close to you and his fear of vulnerability or rejection. On days when his guard is down, he will be incredibly warm, attentive, and highly engaging. However, the moment he realizes he has shown too much vulnerability or stood too close to exposing his feelings, his defense mechanisms will aggressively kick in. Terrified of losing control, he will suddenly pull back, acting distant, formal, or even mildly indifferent for a brief period to re-establish his emotional armor. This sudden withdrawal is rarely about a lack of interest. Rather, it is a deliberate, defensive recalibration designed to protect his ego from potential exposure. The protective barrier removal reflex. Human beings naturally utilize physical objects, such as pillows, notebooks, coffee mugs, or crossed arms, as subconscious shields when they feel defensive, anxious, or emotionally closed off in someone's presence. Conversely, when a man is highly attracted to you, his subconscious mind desires a completely unobstructed path for intimacy and connection. Even if he is acting cool or distant, you will notice that he consistently removes these physical barriers when interacting with you. He will move his drink to the side, uncross his arms, slide objects off the table separating you, or open up his body language completely. This involuntary removal of obstacles is a clear, biological signal of trust and psychological accessibility. By clearing the physical space between you, his primitive brain is actively signaling that he welcomes your presence and is dropping his defenses to let you in. Artificial disagreements and playful friction. When a man is too intimidated or hesitant to express genuine romantic interest, he will often resort to creating artificial friction as a socially safe alternative for interaction. He will playfully tease you, mock your specific quirks, or start light-hearted, sarcastic debates over completely trivial matters. This behavior is driven by a psychological phenomenon known as bids for attention, because he feels he cannot openly compliment you or flirt directly without risking exposure. He uses playful antagonism to guarantee your undivided focus. This clever tactic allows him to lock eyes with you, generate intense emotional energy, and enjoy witty banter while maintaining total deniability. Behind the shield of humor, if his teasing is consistently gentle, completely exclusive to you, and accompanied by a hidden smile, it is a clear sign he is craving your validation. Magnified reciprocity to digital pings. While a man might manage to successfully mask his facial expressions and physical body language in person, his digital behavior on messaging and social media platforms will often expose the truth. When you send him a text, a link, or a direct message, his response pattern will be characterized by immediate, high-effort reciprocity. Even if he takes a short while to reply to maintain a casual front, the content of his messages will be substantial, engaging, and designed to keep the conversation alive. He will ask open-ended questions, use expressive punctuation, and respond to every single point you raised rather than giving dry, one-word answers. This high level of digital investment proves that he values communication with you immensely. He eagerly capitalizes on the safety of a screen to enjoy the intimacy. He is too cautious to initiate face-to-face. Feet orientation and navel alignment. One of the most biologically honest and impossible to fake indicators of human attraction lies in the orientation of a person's lower extremities. While a man can easily force a distant facial expression or cross his arms to look indifferent, he rarely remembers to monitor the direction of his feet and navel. Behavioral psychologists recognize that the feet naturally point toward the absolute highest priority in the immediate environment. If you are standing in a group setting, even if he is actively talking to someone else and ignoring you, look down at his feet. If his toes and navel are aligned directly toward your body, his subconscious mind is entirely anchored to you. This structural alignment reveals that he is biologically primed to move toward you, proving that his true interest remains firmly locked onto your presence despite his detached behavior.